And today in the news, we learned that if you're going to accuse somebody of lawfare, boy, you better have your ducks in a row. This is unbelievable. And I hate starting off, the main topics with something that involves the law and politics and just this and that, and there's no real answer. But there really actually might be an answer in this. And there's really a takeaway for all of us regular people, really, truly. This story coming out of New York. And obviously, the people in New York are well more versed in this than we are. In fact, we'll go to the headline of some of the New York outlets here in a second. But Letitia James, remember her? New York's attorney general. She's the top cop. She's the top legal person in that entire state. And the person that one particular political party put in charge of most of the Trump lawfare because of Trump Tower and the businesses there. She's now accused of the very same thing that they tried to go after Trump with. You couldn't make this stuff up. This is the most unbelievable third act in history. We'll talk about that to see if it has any legs and more. The other thing is that's happening. Let's go to Maryland for a second. This case with and I'm going to use their words, everything the mainstream media has told you about this MS-13 gang member, which has been confirmed. A falsely accused Maryland man, improperly deported. No, he's a confirmed MS-13 gang member. He's in El Salvador now. The courts have agreed. But that has not stopped politicians from making this guy a political chess piece. And they're actually going to do it. They're organizing a field trip to El Salvador to try to get him home to Maryland. This guy has become the main chess piece they're using, the political pivotal point to try to make their case that deporting illegal criminal gang members is wrong. This is the hill they're willing to die on. Okay. But despite all that, and I get you, I know it's kind of early in the week to be talking about so much heavy stuff. I understand that. But we'll lighten that up with probably the fluffiest story you're going to hear in a long time. But it involves sports, so I like that. Atlanta Braves field reporter, they call it. They always go into the crowd. They kind of egged him on and they got him to try to get a girl's number. Well, it actually worked. The lesson there is you got to shoot your shot. But let's get to the main headline. And speaking of headlines, let's go to that because I love this. Whenever there's a New York-based, even though it's a federal case, it'll turn into a federal case here in a little bit, story. I always love going to the New York Post because I don't know who it is that would be the greatest job to be the headline writer for the New York Post, right? There are a few jobs that are better than that. And here we go. Sure enough, a Tish best served cold. They're so good at that. They just are. Today's cover, Trump administration refers New York Attorney General Letitia James for potential prosecution over alleged mortgage fraud. Now, why is this relevant? Well, number one, hello, it's the Attorney General of the state of New York. It's her. But also, as we all know by now, because this is how she made her name, this is what she ran on, this is why she actually has the job, this is a very similar thing that she went after Trump for, okay? Now, let's go back in time just a little bit to when they were accusing Trump of everything and anything. Remember, falsifying records and wouldn't let Trump say, no, it was I have a team of lawyers who put this together to try to get, mortgage and loans based on the square footage of Trump Tower. The bank everyone was okay with it except them, which proved that it was just lawfare. But let's go back in time. Remember this?
The President of these United States is not above the law.
No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules.
Isn't that something? And every time she went back and said this, it was always the same thing, right? Which proved to be incredible hypocrisy. It was always, no one's above the law. No one can use... You have to play by the same rules. It's wrong to do this. A billionaire shouldn't get away with all this stuff. Remember all that? Before we get into the charges, and we'll kind of reveal those in just a second. How about this, too? Let's not forget the time we discovered that she actually ran on. The reason why she has that job and why there was so much money put towards Letitia James running for and winning, why it was so important for the politicians to get her to win that job was to get Trump. This statement was made before she was elected, before she even had the job. Let's go way back to this. The girl asking her, the reporter is saying, please get Trump for us. What did Letitia say?
Please sue him for us.
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the...
The whole thing the whole time was get Trump. Well, now, charges have come her way for a very similar thing in mortgage fraud, as we just said there in the headline. So whenever it comes to legalese and charges, we should always do this. Isn't the first takeaway? Always ask yourself, is it relevant? Like, is this just more political lawfare, but this time coming from the other side? Well, maybe, because it's high profile. But is there anything to the cases? Whenever I have that question, I'm just like you. You always wonder, all right, is this just more political warfare? Is this really something? Does this matter? There's two sources I personally always go to. Alan Dershowitz, because he's a Democrat but isn't afraid to tell it like it is because he's a constitutional lawyer to try to get the real deal. And I always counter that with Jonathan Turley. He's a Fox News contributor, but more on the conservative side, but also a constitutional lawyer. And he was on Laura Ingraham last night. So I wanted to get this clip and see, all right, is there a precedent for these kinds of charges? Number one. And number two, is there anything to this? Do they actually hold water? Here's what he said last night. And it gets really bizarre, by the way, because hidden in the details of the case, she's claiming that her main residence was a spot in New York when it wasn't. It was in Virginia. And she also claimed that her dad was her husband to try to get the loan. The whole thing is bizarre. But can you imagine going after the president of the United States knowing that you're guilty as hell and doing the same thing? Here's Turley talking about the seriousness of the charges.
And this has been prosecuted in the past. Now, we have not heard her side of this, but these documents themselves are quite damning. It's hard to see how the residences listed were her principal residence. The business about her father is just bizarre. Now, I'll note that one of the things...
you heard that right. That listed a family member, in this case being her father, as a spouse, again, to try to get loans. I'll say it again and again. Same thing she accused Trump of. There's that there. And there was the other thing that got me, too. If you remember back, and you may have kind of like washed this from your mind because it was just maddening. It was just obvious, plain as day political warfare. But do you remember back in the day, one of the things they accused Trump of was messing around with and falsifying the square footage of Trump Tower to try to get more of a loan from the bank, which the bank said, I have no problem with it. That's okay. So apparently, at this apartment building that she's accused of falsifying records on, it's a 5-unit place, but she claimed it was 4. God. The hypocrisy on this is just, it's just amazing. And there are, again, and that was from last night where all this news broke, and as of this morning, it's only gone on for, now the lesser legal minds are all chiming in too, saying, oh yeah, no, this is deadly serious. And plain as day that the Trump administration, that the legal department, anybody working with Trump is going to follow this up start to finish. Absolutely they are. Now you may say, well, that's just lawfare going the other direction. Well, maybe if it was anybody else, and I understand that because it is karma, but let's keep in mind and always remember this. This is the Attorney General of the state of New York. She's in charge of a lot of very important criminal cases. You can't have a crook like this, if found guilty, running that state. Unbelievable how the tables turn. The takeaway, boy, if you're going to accuse somebody of something that serious, you better be squeaky clean yourself. Man. All right. Let's talk about I'm not even going to mention his name because I'm just tired of it, but you all know who we're talking about because in the mainstream media he's been described as the wrongly deported Maryland family man. Well, let's talk about that guy for a second because ever since the case broke, and that's all you're wrongly deported, those media buzzwords, right? The Maryland family man. Well, 2 judges in past cases have already determined that the wrongly deported Maryland family man is an MS-13 gang member, okay? He's a criminal illegal alien, and he's not a Maryland man. He is still a resident of El Salvador, which is where he's going to spend the rest of his life in a gang prison. This is where El Salvador has gone. They have those supermax prisons or whatever they call them down there where they lock up their criminals. They have gone from, and this is fact, El Salvador has gone from the murder capital of the world to now per capita the safest country in the world because they cracked down on these gangs that were terrorizing their government and their citizens. But that's not stopping the politicians here from making a case of this guy. He has become the biggest political chess piece I think I've ever seen, because they're using him with their friends in the media to try to call him the wrongly deported Maryland man, despite everything they know about this guy right now. Well, the courts have finally decided he's going, but that's okay. They're going to organize a field trip to come get him back. Not just one, many senators are heading down there. Cory Booker decides he's going to go. They're going to recruit some more. It's an El Salvador field trip, everybody, right? You know, when you think of spring break, we all think of El Salvador, right? No, because you're normal. Not the Democrat politicians. No. So now here's Maryland senator, because it's his state, right? He has to placate it. He has to talk about, I'm for the residents of my state. This is Chris Van Hollen. When I first saw this headline, I thought he was actually kidding. Here's Chris in his own words talking about the field trip to El Salvador. And he actually thinks he's going to talk to a country that cleaned up their reputation as the murder capital of the world. He thinks he's going to go down there with a contingent of other American politicians and get this guy out of a prison and bring him back to the United States. He actually thinks he's going to do this, or does he?
But I've also made clear, if we can't meet here, I do intend to go to El Salvador to discuss the release of this individual who is illegally detained, a Maryland man who's the father of three in a notorious prison in El Salvador. And I believe the president of El Salvador will recognize why it's important to allow him to return.
Here's the thing, Chris. The president of El Salvador is certainly going to recognize the importance of the issue, because there's a reason why he has put all of these gang members into that supermax prison. There's a reason why that happened in the first place, to clean up the streets. But you don't stand a chance in hell of getting this guy back. So we can all see from a mile away what this is all about. It's all posturing. It's all making this guy a political chess piece. They don't give a damn about this Maryland father, as they're describing him. Two courts in our country have already decided and already have confirmed that the guy is an MS-13 gang member. And I'll tell you more about that gang here in just a second, what I've been told here locally. There is no chance in hell you're going to get him out, but it's all posturing. And it's all your chance to make the headlines. And when you put together your El Salvador field trip to try to get him out, you can get more headlines. And it's all an attempt to say that deporting criminals who don't belong in our country is somehow wrong. Now, what's the chance he's actually going to get through to the El Salvador president? Bukele is his name. He was the guy that just met with President Trump in the Oval Office. You probably heard about him a lot. He's the guy that cleaned up. He's also the guy that forged through, side note here, to make Bitcoin the first country, the first currency, cryptocurrency that's widely accepted in his home country. Very smart. Cleaning up their economy, not just their streets. But he's bound and determined to keep these gang members in jail. And he's also very determined, as you heard in that press conference, that meeting with Trump in the Oval Office. He's very determined to have a strong relationship with the United States. All of this together, do you think that guy is going to return an MS-13 gang member to the United States and piss off the Trump administration? Well, listen to him in his own words. I don't think it's going to happen.
But I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. The president of the country that's now going to hold the guy is saying it's not going to happen. You've got the Trump administration saying it's not going to happen. Every legal expert in the country, now that the courts have decided, has said it's not going to happen. So why is it that politicians are organizing a field trip to El Salvador to try to bring back a confirmed gang member, one of the most dangerous gangs in the world, back to our shores, back to our country? Why is that? All posturing. That's all this is. It's all politics. They're just trying to make a chess piece out of this guy to try to make the case and to try to, they're willing to risk their careers, and this is the hill they're willing to die on, to keep criminal gang members in our country and keep them from being deported. And they'll tell you it's about due process. It has nothing of the sort. Just listen to the headlines and you can figure that out. How it's all presented to you, how it's been described to you. And if you haven't paid attention to this case, nobody could blame you, right? Because all you've heard so far is Maryland man, father of three. mistakenly deported. All false, but that's all you've been told. All you have to do is ask yourself why and see right through the propaganda and right through the headlines. There's not a chance in hell it's going to happen. But they get to stay in the headlines again. All right, boy, it's been some heavy stuff. Too much for any Wednesday, particularly today. So let's lighten it up with probably the fluffiest story you're going to ever hear in your life. So every baseball team, every baseball local coverage has what they call, in football, it would be a sideline reporter, but in baseball, it's a field reporter. And they all seem to do it. I've noticed this just watching out-of-market games. They all have two guys in the booth, and then they got a guy that goes around wandering in the stands, and he finds interesting things, and or the camera will find something going on, like a couple, or like somebody with a funny sign, or a kid who just caught a foul ball, and they go and they talk to him, right? It's the new sports thing, whatever. It seems like the Atlanta Braves broadcast crew has this thing down because they actually made some headlines for themselves. It happened Monday night. It was the Braves-Blue Jays game in Atlanta, and the Braves field reporter, his name is Wiley Ballard. He's a wily old fella. That's a great name, Wiley Ballard. So his segment, when he goes up into the stands, is called The Field Report. All right, not too original there. And he went and he interviewed two female fans in attendance. Obviously, they're there. Two, looks like girls in their 20s, about Wiley's age. They're in the stands. And they're really hot. I mean, let's face it. That's why they're even going to talk about it. That's why he went up to them. So because they're hot, the two guys in the booth put him up to getting their number, or one of their numbers. I don't know what it is, because they must have been talking about this off the air. He asks for one of their numbers after being pushed by the play-by-play guy. It all went down like this. Here's the thing. They put him up to it because they thought it would be a funny on-air segment, and it was. I don't think they expected the result, though. Here's how it all ended.
Stay at the rooftop lounge often?
Once a year I come out to visit.
Okay, Wiley. Got 4 innings to get the numbers. I'm on it. I'm on it. All right, so they want me to get your number.
They want you to get my
I'm dead serious.
And?
So the best part of this right now is that Wiley could totally be faking it. This might be the new move. Just walk around with a FanDuel microphone and an earpiece in and convince fans that they're actually on TV.
I should have thought of this years ago. I got the number. We're good.
He got the number. The guys in the booth didn't expect that to happen. They were just trying to put him on the spot, which they did, but it worked for him. Wiley, you go. What's the takeaway? What's the life lesson there? You got to shoot your shot because you never know what's going to happen. Outstanding. All right, another takeaway is careful of the headlines and the propaganda. And again, in the Letitia James case, if you're going to accuse somebody of lawfare, you better be squeaky clean yourself. Unbelievable to keep a look on that thing. Boy, it's only Wednesday. What the hell's going to happen tomorrow? I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Hey, thanks for finding Wicked Radio 2, the live stream portion of Wicked Wisdom, which you'll find on all of the social media channels on YouTube and Facebook with me, Bill Adams, and also on the audio podcast platform. Wherever you like to get your audio podcast, just look for that, and you will find me. Have a wicked awesome Wednesday. It's only midweek. We'll talk to you tomorrow.